If you're unfamiliar with who Eric D. July is, he is a YouTuber, and he is an employee of Glenn Beck's Blaze TV. Of course, as he'll remind you, Glenn Beck doesn't own Blaze TV anymore.
So how much does Glenn Beck pay you?
Glenn Beck doesn't pay me. Glenn Beck doesn't own Blaze anymore.
But Glenn Beck does own Blaze TV's parent company, and he's also the CEO of Blaze TV. And that's just a great example of how this guy obfuscates and gets around the truth when he's not just flat out lying. He's a vocalist of a band called Backwards, presumably named such because that's where he wants to take the country in regards to civil rights. And they have a song called Democracy Sucks, so cool. Rage for the machine, dude. He's an alleged libertarian /anarcho/capitalist. His definitions for such seem to be a little off, and as you'll see in this video, he doesn't really hold true to what he claims his own beliefs are. And oddly, his content, his rhetoric, and the things he advocates for and against are pretty much the same as the modern GOP. Like, it's weird how much they have in common. He's been making YouTube videos about comic books for several years, but not like analysis or like, deep dives into characters or lore or anything like you might find on this fine channel, Actual Fandom. The contrarian, hot take, divisive, controversial, weirdos are just mad because he's telling the truth kind of angle. Some might call that a laughably dishonest or cartoonishly uninformed perspective, but that's just me calling it that, and then like a lot of other people too. But basically the same thing you'd expect a guy who's an employee of Glenn Beck's Blaze TV to do. I feel like that fact doesn't get repeated enough. He's an employee of Glenn Beck's Blaze TV, but now he's making his own comics. Rippaverse, the name of his company, because it's cool to name your fictional universe and your publisher after your old rap name. I don't know. Just let loose an oversized number 2. Let's take a look at Twitter and see what people are saying about ISOM number 2.
Y'all really bought that shit-butt-ass comic book. I'm crying. It's crazy people think this guy is anything but a libertarian scam artist. This is some of the worst paneling and framing I've ever seen. Crazy how the guy that's only known for being a racist pick-me and complaining about woke Marvel and DC probably made the worst indie comic of all time. Character positions are inconsistent, which interrupts panel flow, no sense of movement, and everything looks still.
He's already dead.
Okay, that is unfair of me, I admit. Now let's look at an actual review from a hardcore Rippaverse fan.
I am a big fan of Eric July. This looks awesome. I don't know a damn thing about this world. Sees them, still don't. And again, I was willing to give number 1 a pass because maybe there's some more world building in future issues. But in 2, we don't get any world building of that sort. We don't know where these superheroes have come from. They're called Excepts in this world. We don't know where the Excepts have come from. We don't know really how the police view them, and we also don't really know how society at large feels about them. I need to know this character. I need to be able to follow his story much more than I am. So that was a little bit disappointing for me.
That guy's probably not a real fan, okay? He's probably one of Eric's many detractors, or the haters. I'm surprised Eric hasn't monetized that hater yet. He will. He'll get to him. This is a weird video. Weird because it's a compilation, but also sort of a narrative. So it's not entirely random clips, just kind of smashed together. It's my experiences, my opinions, my arguments, my points about Eric July and the Rippaverse and everything. There's also some memes sprinkled in, though not as many as you might think, because I have made a lot of Rippaverse memes.
Actual Fandom loves to make memes. He is an expert, highly skilled.
One of the main sources that you'll see is from a stream that most people haven't seen. The only people that saw it were whenever it aired live in November of 2022. When I announced that stream a couple of weeks in advance, Eric July saw that tweet and then retweeted it saying that I built my channel on the Rippaverse. Which is, an egregious lie and pretty absurd. So absurd that it kind of tells you everything that you need to know about this guy. He will absolutely not hesitate to tell a lie if he feels that it's advantageous to him. If you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino, I'll be using one of his most famous gimmicks in this video. No, not that. No, man, no. Shit. Knock it off, Quentin. We get it. Samuel L. gave you the pass. No, it's anachronistically edited. So instead of being structured in order of how they happened, they're structured more in terms of theme. So yeah, this is a guy who repeats easily disproven lies about, trans kids. He makes up definitions for words like token, then acts like everyone else is an idiot and wrong for telling him that he's wrong to call Miles Morales that. We're still trying to figure out what exactly Miles Morales did to piss this guy off so much.
Why is he so bitter about Miles? Holy shit. Did Miles, come in his wife or something? What happened?
Be sure to subscribe if you're not already. And please hit the like button. And if you know of anybody in comics fandom that, might be susceptible to content that could be pretty harmful to them if they're not aware of, the context behind it, please share this video. What I'm trying to do with my content isn't necessarily to change the minds of people who are already Rip-averse fans, right? They've got ethical considerations that they're going to have to work through and even, value certain things before they even care to work through those. But what I do want to do is try to prevent people from falling into this algorithmic trap that Eric July is part of. The Fandom Menace, Comicsgate, all these guys. That's what the initiative is about. So, if you support that effort, please hit the link tree in the description and subscribe to, everybody at that link tree link. Eric July has spread lies about me. He's spread lies about my friend Organized Chaos. He's spread lies about comic book creators, professional creators working for Marvel and DC. I've debunked a bunch of those, as you'll see in this video. He does it just kind of nonstop, almost as if that is the point of his content. And I think it is, because I think the guy's intentions are not just to make a comic book and sell it. If you watch the video on my channel called "These Fans Are Actually Political Predators," that'll lay out more, what I mean by that. These types of content creators are not just toxic dudes with bad opinions, right? No, there's something else going on there. And I think the evidence bears that out, especially considering Eric July is an employee of Blaze TV. Last year, I promised, despite the massive $3.7 million in sales that ISOM #1 got, after that, it would drop dramatically. I promised. But did it come true? Stick around to the end to find out.
Any of you incels, QAnon, 4chan, Snyder Cut motherfuckers want to get on the line now?
Mr. Eric July, who is he? Where does this guy come from? Why is he such a big deal? Why would so many people be willing to shell out $35 plus for a comic book by a guy that they don't know anything about the comic other than the synopsis? They don't know. He's never written a comic book before. As far as I can tell, he's never written fiction before. How does that happen? Anybody got any ideas? Class? Raise your hand. Let's say he had just had a YouTube channel just talking politics or just talking about music and wasn't talking about Marvel and DC on them all the time. And then he decided to write a comic book. Do you think that comic book would sell as well? For years, you can look at his fucking YouTube channel and it's like pretty much every day for years now, he's finding some way to twist Marvel, and especially Marvel, but DC sometimes too, into, why they're just so terrible now and look how they're failing. And he used to want to work for them and save the company, he said in one clip. Has he not been using Marvel and DC and whatever else for years in order to build his platform to get to the point where he can put out a comic book and make millions of dollars on it that he would not have been able to do if he had not built his platform on the backs of these established corporations? So I just think it's kind of weird and silly that a lot of the same thing that I got over and over again from his fans was like, you're just doing this, using his name for clout. All right, that's how you want to look at it. That's what these chud YouTubers have always done. They've used popular, well-known, established, giant corporations, studios, publishers, to build a platform of hate, whether it's hate for the media itself or in many cases, hate for minorities, women, so on, right? So it's hypocritical and it's full of shit. And I do not accept that so-called criticism. Yeah, he really had to set up that years long, and this is where I'm giving him a compliment, I guess. Like, good job on the execution of this, where you spend years developing an audience, and then you go, oh, okay, but now I got this product, and it's the cure for all the stuff that I've been telling you is bad for years now. Like, this is the answer. We're gonna show them now. Okay, so the people that think that I'm just obsessed with Eric July, like, I got some kind of thing out for him in particular, I don't. The thing that makes him a point of interest for me is that he exists on that intersection of my personal love of comics and my personal philosophy of reduce harm, maximize well-being. And I ignored the guy for almost 3 years because at a glance he was boring And to me, he was just the roads dude.
How many times you think we ain't felt all the things? How many times we say we oppose taxation? What about the roads? How many times? What about the roads?
But when I began to get asked about ISOM and Rippaverse, and asked fairly often, I had to see what it was. I still wouldn't have cared that much, because after all, he's, there's lots of Comicsgate guys I've never and will never talk about. But those guys don't have upward of 500K subs. They don't work for a major right-wing media / disinformation network. He just happens to be the guy who exists. He operates on this axis, like right at the fucking nexus point of this axis of my interests and my skill set. Okay? My interests being comic books, fandom, chilling out, talking about comic books, what we like, what we don't like, without it being a hostile thing. Also, bigotry, don't like it. Think people that are fucking racist and against people's gender and shit like that. I think it's fucking cringe and you get the fuck out of here. All that is right there in how he operates. It's right. It's that fucking, that's the pin he plays in. And then also my skill set, which is I have a background in journalism, so I know how to, look for information, and I feel like I analyze it pretty okay. So it really is, it could be anybody. Here's the thing.
It's clobbering time.
After issue number 1 of ISOM, I guarantee you the sales are going to dip dramatically. Every issue after, it's going to fall. And the reason for that is because, for one thing, even just Marvel, DC, or whatever, number 1 issues of things sell way more than anything else, which is the reason that they're always rebooting to number 1 or starting new runs at number 1. Aside from that, his sales are going to dip for subsequent issues because a lot of people are not buying a comic book. They're paying him to own the left. They bought a comic book, yeah, but that's not the main thing that they really wanted. They're going to get the comic, they're going to talk about it like it's the best thing ever, sure. But really, what's driving those sales at this point is sticking it to the woke mainstream comics industry or whatever it is, right? That's what's driving it. Once they've done that one time, a great many of those people will not pay for another thing from him. They will feel like they've already done the thing, sent the message to the woke media or whatever. They won't continue doing that. I'm promising you. I'm promising you. He's done a lot of shit to try and shut us down, me down, the initiative. We barely even mention it. Like you guys don't even know what some of the stuff that's happened because we aren't going to just be like, look what Eric July did now. But he's done some shit. You might be surprised. The most notable of which, after Bob's debate, he was so pissed off about some of the points that Bob scored on him.
What's the problem with the new legacy characters though? Because legacy characters are a comic book tradition.
New legacy character? What do you mean new legacy character? Are you talking about knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, so you understand what a legacy character is, right?
Yes, I'm asking you for clarification. Can you answer what the question I just had?
Well, I'm trying to understand how you are asking what a legacy character is. A legacy character is simply a character.
Saying, what do you mean by new legacy character? If they're a legacy character, they wouldn't be new.
What? No, legacy characters are characters that carry on the legacy. You understand that, right?
Yes, I understand that, but if it's a legacy character, the character itself has been there and it's ingrained in comic books, as you just said. So what do you mean new?
I don't understand it.
Because there are new characters created to add on to the legacy. Please don't tell me you're this dumb.
I'm retarded?
Alright, so I was asking to just give me a character motivation for ISOM. Why does it go? So why does he look for Jasmine?
Because his sister asked him to do it.
Alright, so why does he say yes?
Because he cares about his family, specifically considering that this is a family friend. And he knows that his mother would chew his ass out in the event that's all explained in the text.
So he's literally just looking for this girl because his mom would chew him out if he didn't?
Yes.
read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
Go back to ISOM. What about it are you asking? What specific,
wait. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15,
action?
Right?
What specific action are you asking, pretending? No, I'm gonna get stuck on this one. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right? Are you, what? Let's talk about ISOM. You just asked me a question, let's quit moving the goalposts. What specifically about the...
There are plenty of people that don't know who Spider-Man is, dipshit.
Suffering Steve Ditko! How can you not know that Spider-Man first appeared in 1962's classic Amazing Fantasy number 15?
So how much does Glenn Beck pay you?
Glenn Beck doesn't pay me. Glenn Beck doesn't own Blaze anymore.
So how much? So how much does the Blaze pay you?
Blaze doesn't pay me that much. I'm only a video contributor. I only show up every once or twice at the most a week.
I mean, you got your picture. You got your picture on the wall. You must do something for him.
Yeah, because I'm a video contributor. Why wouldn't my picture be on the wall?
Well,
everybody that shows up, even the contributors that contribute to Jason Whitlock's show, who only show up a couple of times, those guys are also pictured at the Blaze. What's the problem?
Your picture was like 4 or 5 spots away from Glenn Beck.
He was so pissed off about some of the points that Bob scored on him that he made a video essentially calling to action fucking Critical Drinker, fucking Nerdrotic, fucking Geeks and Gamers, fucking, what was the other one? Razor Fist. You know, essentially they're calling on millions of collective fans to kind of just, and they highlighted us in the video. Like, there's only one reason to do that. And he's like making himself out to be the victim. You know, why does this guy never address anything that anybody ever says, you know, in good faith? Why does he fucking lie? There's no point in debating somebody like Eric. The guy is media trained. He is never, ever, ever going to admit wrong, to admit to some kind of like faulty logic, or to say, oh yeah, I guess I could have done better, or anything. Like, there's no, his motives for doing what he's doing are nothing like what yours or mine are, right? It's all about money. Bob's got balls. That's what I'm saying. Bob did a great job. Considering that there was no way coming out of that, like there was no world in which that debate was going to end with, you know, Eric just like, oh God, he fucking bodied me, and Bob's like, fuck yeah, bitch, and teabags him, and his whole audience, Eric's audience, goes, fuck you, Eric, we're Organized Chaos's fans now. That was never going to happen. True. And now that you're here, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Ed. Your thing's too good here. It's just too fucking good.
On February 5th, 2023, Eric July debated Organized Chaos for 3.5 hours.
What do you mean new legacy care? Are you talking about knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
While Bob went on with his life, Eric stayed on air for another 2 hours to declare himself the winner. This is what winning looks like.
I'm not gonna use aggression on you, but all I'm saying is people done got knocked the fuck out for a lot less. Don't let me go to a con and his motherfucking ass is there. You've left your parents or your children with a single mom. You left your children with a single fucking mom, divorced, fat, and out of shape, right? And white, right? And white, right? Right and white, right? Got this jackass in the chat. Here's this. Eric is so immature. This is how I think he says. Eric is so immature and insecure, resorting to fat jokes, making fun of his family situation, and threatening physical violence. You're an inch shorter than me, and I got more on you, but I'm built. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't no fucking, like, you see what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm actually built. I'm built for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not fucking like, this is a solid 215. You see what I'm saying? Right? Solid. Look at this. This is a solid, it's a solid 215. Right? I'm built like a goddamn brick. Your bitch ass couldn't even stay with the fucking mother of your fucking children.
That person behind that account, often a sock account, is more than likely some pencil-necked, out-of-shape bozo that has his own personal issues. And because he doesn't actually know how to deal with this mommy and daddy problem, he's taking it out on you. Fuck.
And you could not stay with the mother of your fucking children, right? So you want to talk, you done left your parents or your children with a single mom. You left your children with a single fucking mom. Divorced. He divorced like that's the worst thing you could possibly do. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. You're not even with the children. Can't talk to your kids, man. Can't talk to your children. And took the kids, said he's sharing custody. We know what the fuck that means. You ain't sharing no damn custody. We already know what that means. You ain't even raising your goddamn kids. Not raising your kids. Shit. Oh, children deserve it. You ain't even raising your kids, bro. And you did the worst thing that you could possibly do to your fucking children. And that's not raise them in a two-parent household. But you ain't raising them. Shit, you're cooked. You ain't raising them. Go raise your motherfucking kid.
That person behind that account, often a sock account, is more than likely some pencil-necked, out-of-shape bozo that has his own personal issues. And because he doesn't actually know how to deal with his mommy and daddy problems, he's taking it out on you.
Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you coming home, son, I don't know when. We'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then.
This video is brought to you by
Reproduce.
How can I be a white nationalist if I wear Reproduce? Checkmate, groomer! Hey man, something's gotta pay the bills around here. You guys, consider supporting me on Patreon so that I don't have to do this type of gig anymore. Reproduce Griftwear, the only clothing line that's DMCA protected. Dress like a goddamn brick.
Reproduce.
The deceptive narrative is DC is making Poison Ivy a fat lesbian, implying the character is forever ruined by SJWs or wokeness. Actual context. The story is from Catwoman Lonely City, which is disconnected from the main continuity of the DC universe. Catwoman Lonely City is not canon, does not affect the established lore or the aesthetic of Poison Ivy or any other character. This is colloquially called an Elseworld story from the now defunct line of DC Comics that exist in alternate realities using characters and concepts we're familiar with. Basically DC's version of What If.
Ponder the question, what if?
Previously.
Now you have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
Dude, it's a multiverse.
I don't understand it.
Ponder the question, what if?
Fuck them hoe ass roads.
Ponder the question, what if?
I don't understand.
Eric July's audience use him as deflection against any kind of criticism about their racism or whatever. Because how can you be racist when, look, we got this black guy?
Mm-hmm. As much as they scream about identity politics, they love to use it.
They do. Somebody said, criticizing him on Twitter, that he uses woke as a negative and hates anything Marvel or DC that promotes minorities or women. And he's an alt-right grifter, which, you know, generally, yeah. Eric retweeted, yeah, that's it. With this cover, he's deflecting criticism about being against anything, you know, promotes minorities or women with the cover of his comic that has, you know, a black guy and a woman. He's literally using wokeness as a shield. These people are so disingenuous, dude. They have no fucking standards except double standards. They will use the exact same thing they say they hate about the left or SJWs. The main distinction between these people and regular people, I think, is that these guys believe the ends justify the means. They have no ethics on how to go about things. They just know what result they want. They want to shut down criticism, whereas most people will try to have a conversation or here's some facts or something like that. No, they don't care. They're just gonna do the exact same thing they say they hate. And it's funny that he did this because we had discovered this while doing a stream about Eric. DJ pointed out, he was like, hey, that book looks kind of woke. Oh yeah, her hair is green. Is she trans? Is she one of the alphabet rainbow? I mean, really, if you put a Marvel brand on this comic book with the black guy and a girl with blonde and green hair, and you put that out, then it's a Marvel comic, they're gonna call it woke just by looking at this cover. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm fucking wrong. Pure and simple.
In a heartbeat.
And that's proven. He proved it. He fucking proved it. Here. Why do people who consider themselves fans seem to know so little about comics lore in the industry? They focus almost exclusively on art and sales. When they do discuss lore and characters or writing, often they're obviously just repeating superficial talking points popularized by others like YouTubers trying to sell their own comics. Yet they clearly have some passion for it, even if it makes no sense to other fans. They're very forceful with their opinions, resulting in toxicity and gatekeeping, and many fall under the category of what we call anti-fandom. And so they end up being Comicsgate or that other thing. So how can they be so overly confident and yet at the same time hold the most superficial, reductive, and even flat out incorrect information? And that's the theory. That's it. That's all I got. No, mostly. So the roots of the it's called the speculator boom. And the roots of the speculator boom reached as far back as the golden age during the genesis of the comic book industry. So like, during World War II, when comic books really became a big thing, rationing was in full effect, including the very paper that comic books were printed on. So this added to the rarity of the first appearances of future icons like Superman, Batman, Captain America, Wonder Woman. And the fact that the comics of the Golden Age were seen as little more than marketing novelty contributed to the notion of these being disposable, right? So like very rarely did somebody actually go, hey, I'm going to take good care of this and store it away in good shape. No, they would like roll them up and put them in their pocket and shit, tear pages off of them or whatever. So then, fast forward to the 80s and 90s, and Wizard magazine became a thing and that was literally a price guide. There were other price guides before it, but Wizard was much more like pop culture focused.
They had lots of articles and stuff in there as well. I used to get Wizard.
But just for the articles, right, Bob?
It's just the articles.
Yeah.
So this created what was called the speculator effect, right? Where like people would go, well, wait a second. If this Superman comic, the first appearance of Superman, is worth fucking hundreds of thousands, million, I don't know how much it's worth now, but it's a lot. They're thinking, well, and they're thinking in terms of baseball cards, which were also going through a surge in popularity in the late 80s, early 90s. And so they're thinking, well, if we get, these first appearance or special comics that come out and we store them and we put them away, then I can put my kid through college or whatever. And so a lot of people started buying comics, some of them exclusively for that purpose, not buying them because they're interested in the stories and the characters as much as other people might. A couple of years passed, not very long. And people realized, oh, wait, these aren't going to be worth very much because everybody has 70 copies and they're all in perfect condition. There's no scarcity. Why would these be worth anything? You know what I mean? Like you can still buy a copy of Spawn #1 for, probably $30 if it's in like immaculate condition, maybe less. But there's a billion copies of Spawn #1. So you had the boom where like during the early 90s you had like X-Men comics especially, but Spider-Man, everything really was selling fucking amazing, like hundreds of thousands of copies every month. And X-Men #1 still, I believe, is the one that I think is highest selling or sold the most copies of any comic. I don't remember exactly.
Probably both.
Well, that's because they released like 7 different covers that were like, and then the one that was like the gatefold that included all of them. So, the industry was in on it. There's no one thing to blame at this point, right? Like there was the speculators that were kind of idiots. They didn't know what they were doing. They thought they did. There was the industry that was feeding into that shit by giving them 70 different covers variants to buy. And pretty quickly, once people started to realize, oh, this isn't what we thought it is, they just abandoned it altogether. They stopped buying comics. They abandoned the hobby. But those people still held on to those comics in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, those people still consider themselves fans. But they're fans in the sense that, like superficially. So they may have a fucking Marvel shirt, and they may be somewhat familiar with the fact that, for instance, Thanos and Adam Warlock had some connection in the early 90s. They may know what Maximum Carnage was, things like that. But then they just kind of abandoned it and moved on. And then, years later, they're like, well, I'm still a fan. I got all these comics. I know these things. I'm a fan. And to them, their fandom is just as valuable as anybody else's. And, I don't like to shit on people's relationship to this stuff, but it really becomes a problem whenever they insist that they are the real fans, and then they start demanding certain things from it. And they say that the writing is bad and these characters are bad and shit. And it's like, but dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, the things you say are not, they don't indicate somebody that has actually read things, or understands what you have read. And so that's the theory, basically, that there's the collectors that, like Derek August. I think he's one of them.
I don't understand it.
I think he's kind of like the embodiment of that. Every reference that I've seen him make about specifics of comic books is related to the early 90s. Yeah, Invincible is a good example of, that was Robert Kirkman just started up Invincible, and he had a story to tell, and it was about a superhero who lived in a world of superhero stuff, and it's like none of this was established, and he took his time, and he wrote a good comic. He wrote a good story. He wrote characters people wanted to relate to and stuff. Maybe Isom is that. We're going to get to that. But for now, this is from Eric July's own website. This is his own bio, presumably written by him, or if not, then approved by him. It's one thing you need to know about me. It's this. I'm never silent, even when people try to shut me up. Even though he'll try to shut other people up. But since I was in my early 20s, I've been shouting my message and spreading my own brand of freedom across the whole world. Together, we can make all of our voices heard and start influencing real change. Okay. So he wants to change things. What does he want to change, do you think? What
roads?
What message do you think it is he's trying? He says freedom there. What does that mean? Maybe he just means like he wants people to love each other, and he, wants to make sure people are taken care of. And maybe he means he's tired of all the, I don't know, but the just injustices of the system and stuff. Maybe that's what it is. Let's find out. That's what we're all here to do, right? I know I am. I was born and raised in Dallas and probably got myself into more trouble than I should have when I was younger. Hey, me too. We got that in common. Hell, life wasn't always smooth sailing, but I made the most of it. I built a community of liberty-minded people on a mission to spread liberty, speak out against nonsense, and work towards a more free and prosperous society. So nonsense is not included in free, apparently. Okay. So whatever free means, it doesn't include what he thinks nonsense is. All right. I see myself in all of my followers, and they see themselves in me too. Sounds kind of gay, Eric. No. We're writing a new story. We're all here to discuss everything we feel passionate about while also figuring out what role we play in making things better. Let's use the power of our voices to create a cultural phenomenon like no other. Together, we can make it happen. It's Vegas shit.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's creepy whenever the mission to spread liberty. That when I hear that, ooh. I've heard those words before. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what it reminds me of is when there's like a young Christian type organization that's trying to pull in like some new kids or whatever, and they don't say exactly what they're doing right on the surface, and they use kind of like fluffy language to kind of hide what we just want you to be for Jesus, but like they don't really say that. You ever seen what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's kind of like that. And that's something to look out for. Anytime somebody is hiding from you the details of what their views are, but they're talking to you really passionately about it like this.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's 100% of the time bad. I'm not saying that, but it's just you should be critical and ask questions. We can make this change happen unless you're gay. Or is he? Yeah, he's trying to spread the message. Do the thing. Do the thing.
The message.
Yeah.
Okay, go away now.
Say the line.
Say the line.
All right. That's not all though. There's more. For those that aren't aware, I started my channel focused on Ethan Van Sciver. He was the guy that I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I just kept, anytime I would hear about something going on with him, I'd think, you know what, this is right down my fucking lane of like what I can do. I know the comics, I know how he's lying. And then eventually I realized that Ethan Van Sciver's influence had waned. Comicsgate had waned. It had shrunk. You know, it's not really what it was. Sad to say. But like, they were making some moves. They seem to be everywhere. There seemed to be a lot more of them. They seem to have some influence. And now they don't. They're just kind of sad at this point. It's all like a bunch of grifters just kind of fighting amongst each other for the last grift dollars. Eric July, though, is not the same thing. He was smart enough to get out of that whole grift orgy and do his own grift over here on the side, but also benefiting from that grift orgy. It's actually pretty smart when you think about it. To give it his own name, he doesn't claim Comicsgate. He's the Rippaverse. He's got his own brand of Comicsgate. It's not about Eric July in particular. It's about whoever it is that happens to be in this position. You know, I've talked about lots of chuds in the past. Eric is a Christian fascist. He's anti-democracy. You know, he lies about virtually everything as needed.
Have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
Talking about Peter Darker.
Fun fact. Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make more money pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Did you used to like him? Not judging or whatever. Just curious.
No.
Do you like Miles Morales then?
No.
Yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Talking about Peter Darker.
But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
And it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
I don't understand it.
And he follows the general right-wing grift of offering an alternative to, you know, the regular ass shit that everybody else is fucking consuming.
I believe that right now we're operating on a very old, archaic model in terms of how we do entertainment. And to see how we did it, and I had a direct line of sight with my audiences, what the internet allowed me to do. Instead of having to even go through another publisher or anybody, I just say, you know what, we'll just do it. I can speak to my audience directly. Why do I need to answer to some like middleman, especially when I don't really understand why they do what it is they do? And
I don't understand it.
That was the big thing of what we did. Instead of just, hey, everybody else does it this way. Everybody else goes through Diamond for their distribution. Everybody goes through this publishing house if they're going to produce like an independent comic. And I said, why? That was really the question. I said, why? I couldn't. So it didn't make sense. So I didn't do it.
Legitimately got work to do. Like tanking on one movie, that's not enough. There's power in the customers, but customers have to have some sort of awareness, self-awareness, as far as what you maybe contribute to this. Can you replace that Disney thing that you rely on to have a good time with something else? I think you can.
But the groundwork for Trump has really been laid in our country for the past 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
And it is that the right wing very explicitly decided, and this is in the 70s and 80s after Nixon was taken down, and Roger Ailes, who ran Fox News for a long time, was Nixon's advisor. They explicitly stated, we need to control the narrative so that what happened to Nixon could never happen again to another Republican. And they built parallel structures of authority in news, in institutions like universities, in think tanks, almost to shift to this other track, the facade that they could build on the side.
Legitimately got work to do. Like tanking on one movie, that's not enough. Can you replace that Disney thing that you rely on to have a good time with something else? I think you can.
He literally makes videos going after specific comic book creators.
Hello, Eric July. How are you?
My man, what's up, Ethan? How you doing? I'm doing good. I can't complain, man. All right, yeah, all right. Let's make fun of these weirdos.
Yeah, T. Franklin's something else. I enjoyed your argument with her. Did you call her a crackhead?
Yeah, I called her a crackhead. Yeah, she didn't take kindly to that either when I called her that. T. Franklin, she is doing that Harley Quinn Bang Kill tour, which I guess is a book that kind of extends from that show that they're doing on her, which is basically just a show for a bunch of lesbians. That's the only appeal that it has. That obviously just put in a position because of her status. She's one of those typical pronoun brigade weirdos, put some mental illnesses and all that shit in her bio and all that. She doubled down on this idea that Vixen was gay. Because why not? The writer's black, gay, and disabled. And I didn't really understand this until I talked about this with Chuck Dixon on my show. They seem to write these gay characters as predators all the time. Why is that? And I was like, and they did that with Vixen, where she's like hitting on this disabled chick, and it's fucking weird, man.
She's like, you're not going anywhere. You can outrun me. I can run like a cheetah, and you're on crutches. So I'm going to stick my giraffe tongue in you. There's nothing you can do about it.
Fucking weird, man. It's some predator shit. That was an embodiment of what she was. It was a self-insert because the chick's disabled, black, and a lesbian.
To have fucking done nothing to him or anybody else. They're just creating successful comic books, and he has to, you know, talk shit on them and fucking accuse them because they're queer. He accuses them of being like predators or whatever. It's fucking bullshit. He's a bullshit ass dude.
We've introduced you. Again, I don't know who your partner is. I don't know what kind of gay shit y'all got going on, but I didn't agree to speak to you and your partner as answers. Like, first of all, what type of gay ass shit? I don't know what speed dating type of shit that he thinks this is going to turn into, but why in the fuck would I ever? And it's like that with a lot of these cats, bro. These fucking fruits, man, will sit here and they rely on these be a decent. Well, let me say this. We offered him, or they, them, whatever he goes by, maybe. We offered this fucking fruit. And them definitely if I've done a video about them in the past. But these fucking fruits, they don't abide by that at all. Fucking fruit. Let me see if I can find even that other guy. We got Kyle Denson with a 5 said his partner. I think we may be dealing with the rainbow, if you know what I mean. But he definitely is so. Like, fuck you. And then, like, that last guy, the guy in the email who was clearly backed out of the debate, talking about his partner. Like, why y'all need all this backup for, man? But I'm tired of getting fucking notifications from this fruit on my watch when his bitch ass won't fucking call in. Come talk to us together on, like, nigga, y'all niggas is gay.
July replies, I'm against mutilation of children. Is that right? Is that right? If anybody here is a fan of Eric July and you watch this content, can you link me to the times that he's talked about, little boys being circumcised? Because here he says, minors are unable to consent, and it is just evil to do such irreversible damage to them. Right? What about that do you find so repugnant? Okay, he's taking a fucking bold moral stance here, guys. Bold fucking stance against mutilating, I'm doing big ass air quotes here, children. Please, somebody let me know all the times that he has talked about boys, like, assigned male at birth, like myself, babies. Sorry to, put it out there like that, but, circumcised. Before I even had a conscious thought in my fucking little baby head, they took my penis and they sliced some stuff off of there. Said, you know what? This is for his own good. I did not consent to this. Does he ever talk about that in particular? No, because that is not something that gets fucking clicks in the algorithm. If it did, he would. That's exactly who Eric July is. He only feigns a moral outrage over a certain thing if it's something that he can fucking get attention and drive profits with. Now we're going to look at a timeline. 2002 to 2006. He made a buzz as YG Rippa and released his first rap track. He built a name for himself across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and started ghostwriting for other musicians. Okay. Released his first YouTube video in 2006. Started his channel. Also landed himself a track and field scholarship. Some people have told Eric that Isom is a self-insert character, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's like, no, it's not. And then his fans are like, oh, because he's black. And it's like, you know, I wouldn't have called him that. I wouldn't have not said he's a self-insert. You know, representation, sure, but like a self-insert to me is a very specific thing, right? Like you're inspiring this character literally after you. But do you remember that whole monologue that dude does in Isom? And he's describing how Avery in high school.
Yeah. Okay.
He was good in track and field and shit.
Yeah. Just right. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's kind of noticeable.
Oh. Wow.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to look at was he said he co-founded Being Libertarian, right? Co-founded Being Libertarian and started my own act.
Is that like Being Libertarian?
It's a website. This thing came up a while back, and I was pretty astonished by it. Regarding the Being Libertarian website, this post on the YouTube community tab by Mr. Charles Perello, he co-founded a Facebook page and website, Being Libertarian, which was now in total over 1 million followers a day. I had this dream for a world where people didn't really pay taxes, which, you know, if you've probably seen, Eric wears that taxation is theft hat. That's common.
Yeah.
Libertarian refrain, and thought that'd work well. Values I hold today to an extent, but I took them unrealistically far and not for reasons I actually wanted. Became almost a game for him to become more radical, like that was some sort of achievement, and that he thinks that's sadly something that's kind of common. I agree. On the right and the left, by the way. Where things changed for me, though, was when I was about 20 and I started a website called Being Libertarian. I bought the domain for $10, set up a basic site, and a few weeks later, a Facebook that page that I followed changed its name to that. I reached out to them saying I own the domain and we should partner. Met these two guys who seemed okay, but began to kind of field them out. I told them I wasn't an anarchist libertarian, didn't believe in conspiracy theories, or was socially pretty progressive, supported gay marriage and abortion rights. One seemed genuine and the other kind of nodded. We got things going and began having great growth, gaining several thousand followers a week. Love doing posts, sharing memes, blah, blah, blah. He began wanting to post memes mentioning things like enslavement of a small group of white people 500 years ago, in some attempt to undermine slavery as an excuse for poverty. He began deleting posts I'd made on the page celebrating gay rights. Now, you know, if libertarians were really about liberty, they would be all for gay rights. You know what I mean? But they've inverted it to where it's like they act like it's some enforcement on them to accept people's identity.
Yeah.
He also brought on these very awkward writers, many of whom were open anti-Semites, racists, and radicals. One person brought on was Eric July, who was some rapper and now is a YouTuber. Eric seemed fine at first, but talking to him, he was nuts. He was a black man who'd say things like, F the Civil Rights Act and bash Students for Liberty for kicking out known white supremacist Richard Spencer from their national event. He'd do things like bash Franklin from the Peanuts as some sort of token. That sounds familiar, right? Like Miles and just like any black character is a token, basically. Yeah. Except him. Everybody's a token but me.
What is the problem with Miles Morales?
Tokenization. That's it.
How is it tokenization, though? He's his own character.
No, he's not.
Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Why is he so bitter about Miles? Holy shit. Did Miles, like, come in his wife or something? What happened?
Make videos knocking a black Powerpuff Girl Sadly, I don't think to this day he realizes he served the same purpose for a bunch of racists online. Similar to Candace Owens, where they never seem to focus on bringing black people into conservatism, but just make lower class racists or full racist white people feel better.
Done many different videos talking about the concept of tokenization. I figured I'd do a dedicated video explaining what exactly it is and the issues that stem from it. Instead of going back and forth with some brainlet in the comment section, just send them this video and call it a day. There wasn't even a Webster's Dictionary entry for tokenism when I first started using it in videos. I do not care what you personally think that it is or that you think I should use a different term. Not important. So let me define tokenism first and foremost in this context.
Wow, what a postmodernist. Words don't matter? Crazy.
Tokenism is the gender, race, or sexuality change of a pre-established character. We call this tokenism because it's usually only done one direction and it's purposeful and with intent. Once that tokenism occurs, we call that manifestation a tokenization, and it doesn't matter if there's a supposed mantle at play. There's
Oh, okay. So all right, okay, it makes sense. Now it all makes sense. It's just when a character is now different and he doesn't like it and he wants to devalue the opinion of people who he doesn't like because they like a thing that he doesn't. I don't know. I just think this is really funny. Pick a word, make up a definition for it that nobody else uses, then get mad when other people try to correct you on the word, then say the word doesn't matter, but then call them dumb for not agreeing with your definition of the word because that's how you use the word, I guess.
So black tokenized Spider-Man. Look, Eric July is a token. He's made himself a token. He probably is fully aware that he's a token, but he's a grifter and doesn't care. The right has examples of people that they prop up and then continue to be bigots and shitheads, but they can hide behind that one example of something that they have and say, look.
I love Young Rippa because he's like Jesse Lee Peterson, but if he had like 5 extra IQ points.
Amazing.
We looked a while back at how Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers and Ryan Kennel and stuff, they're all posting about how they have a black friend. Look, we have black friends. So yeah, there's tokens that exist, but creating a character like Miles Morales that becomes super popular, and they brought him over to the main Marvel universe because he was so popular. And then they made a multi-million-dollar animated film that won Academy Awards because Miles Morales is popular. That's not a token. That's not forcing anything. That's creating a character that's got depth and layers and nuance, resonates with people. The main purpose these guys serve is, and as you can see it whenever you criticize them on Twitter or wherever, like I did, and then I get 100 people in my comments saying I'm racist. You know, I don't want to see a black man succeed. This person said, you can't hate the comic because of if you do, that makes you a racist by your own standards. Rippa playing 4D chess without even trying. It's like, that's not my standards. And I've gotten this on fucking Twitter a few times where it's like, it seems to be they think that, and maybe they're just trolling and they're like, because they don't want to actually engage with the criticism. That's probably likely. But like, because I don't agree with this guy's politics and how he does things, that makes me actually, I'm against black people. No, it's the idea is if you follow this logic through, it's that if you disagree with any black guy, any black person for any reason at any time, then you're a racist by the logic that they think that we use, which goes to show they don't understand racism. But the support black-owned businesses crowd having a sudden change of heart after seeing the Rippaverse. Now, once again, it's that same sentiment that if you're, critical and not a fan or even think that he's doing something shitty, you're not supporting black-owned businesses. Yeah, I mean, I'm for people. I'm not like I'm for the collective good, which is exactly what a libertarian is not. They're for me, myself, first and foremost. Fuck everybody else. As long as I'm free to get mine, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally the taxation is theft is that. Because taxes go to the community. They go to, collective means. The whole fuck the hoe ass roads thing is a direct result of this conversation of libertarians not making sense. And like Sam Cedar had said something about, has he explained how they would make the roads if in a libertarian society? And he, instead of answering it, he just goes off on this fucking rage-filled rant.
All right, man, this should go without saying. It should, but unfortunately, you fucking level 1 rookie bitch-ass commentators on Twitter, I don't understand it. You not fooling a libertarian by bringing up them bitch-ass roads. How
many times is it that we say we oppose taxation, and the first goddamn level 1 rookie, childish, kindergarten ass bitch made argument that you throw out there is, what about the roads? You must drive on the roads. You must hate the roads. You think we ain't feel all the things that could stump libertarians, which tend to be smarter people. They tend to get there by way of economic reasons. And you somehow think that the thing that's gonna stump us and be like, damn, fuck this libertarian shit, is the motherfucking roads. Jesus Christ, Walter Block has a long form write-up of the privatization of roads and highways. This is level 1 shit. Just because maybe you can't figure it out, which is okay. This is why we're for free markets. Just because you can't figure out how minus taxation, people would say, damn, I need to get over there. What if we built a goddamn flat space? If you think people can't figure that shit out, or you can't figure out how people would do that, that's on you. That's okay. This is why we're free market. Let the smart people kind of figure that shit out and allocate those resources. But I promise you, homies, you're not fooling now libertarian by bringing up them bitch ass roads. Fuck them hoe ass roads, man.
Became a meme because there is no, I mean, he said something like, well, because people who would need the roads, they'd pay for it. And it's like, how do you make sure that happens? Yeah. It's nonsensical. It's a completely nonsensical ideology.
It's simple as that person has a right to do that, to do whatever it is that they want.
Okay.
So as long as they don't aggress upon another individual, then it becomes unrightful. Just throwing this out there before we get started, any event that, I happen to be at one of those and you happen to be there as well, let's just make sure that we link up and we kind of chop it up about kind of some of those comments. So you fat, out of shape, and you white. Considering that you ain't built for that level of action, I would not advise.
What is that a threat?
Never done anything athletic, and he talking sideways. Like I said, like he's got to see me anyway. Don't let me go to a con and his motherfucking ass is there. He has to see me. Right? I ain't saying I'm gonna knock his ass out. He's like, is that a threat? Like, ain't nobody threatening you, motherfucker. We already know you can't whoop my ass.
So you fat, out of shape, and you white. If I were you, considering that you ain't built for that level of action, I would not advise.
What is that a threat?
Just throwing this out there before we get started, any event that, I happen to be at one of those and you happen to be there as well, let's just make sure that we link up and we kind of chop it up about kind of some of those comments.
Don't let me go to a con and his motherfucking ass is there. He has to see me.
I don't know if Reggie, Sketchy Got Hands are still in chat. I've got your comment here. I don't think you'll mind me showing it. He says, in this case, this is why the right wing is really adamant fighting anyone who criticized the Ripiverse. Protecting a minority makes them look good, and it gives them an opportunity to call you racist, despite being a person of color. This also gives Eric a chance to reform his image as a victim. despite he has been trying to ruin T. Franklin's career, who is a disabled black woman. We looked at a little bit of that, right? Like he was smearing her name, dismissing her as not being talented, shouldn't be there, despite the fact that she's worked her ass off to get way more accolades than he has.
When they continue to do this goofy stuff because they're out of ideas and they're hiring people that probably shouldn't be in these positions.
So he says they're hiring people that shouldn't be in these positions at all. Let's take a look at that. That's when he has to resort to the money aspect. I made $3 million, and what have you made? It's like, well, good comics.
I present to you the detractors. These are the most consistent haters. The foolish detractor can't stop. In this video, I present to you the top detractors of Eric July since the summer of 2022 to May of 2023. There are many more, but these are the most consistent haters.
Right out of the gate, man. Detractors, haters. Never critics, never critics. It's criticism whenever it's them. It's detracting and hating when it's us.
Us, like, pointing out when Eric July's wrong, that's bad. But Eric July just shitting on people all day, that's good?
Yeah, apparently.
Honestly, it makes us sound really cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Victim politics. Post I made, the conservative victim mentality. Let's look at what these people want. You broke, and some even want you dead. Act accordingly. They will laugh and cheer at every inconvenience or shortcoming. Every victory you have, despite all odds, irritates the shit out of them. Really conveys a lack of character and dignity, especially because the entirety of his content is built on mocking and harassing others, like disabled characters and creators. Eric's not just a comics tourist, he's immoral. As T. Franklin herself said, what's really funny, this book has Spider-Ham and Spider-Mobile, a pig and a car, but a disabled spider person is the fucking problem. And yeah, both of these characters, Spider Dune Buggy or whatever it is, and Spider-Ham, have existed in the Spider-Verse comics since the original. They didn't make any videos about that. But they make videos about it whenever it's a disabled person. And that just goes to show not just the grift, but really how fucking immoral these people are. And then this is a whole thread. I made some decent points, I think. Dude knows not a damn thing about the comics or the industry he absolutely depends on to pay his bills. He'd have nothing if not for the actual comics creators who bring joy to more people than will ever hear of him or Isom. It's bottom feeder behavior. It's parasitic.
This company is going to make me so much money.
I mean, yeah, and that's the title of the video, by the way. This company is going to make me so much money. So at least he admits it. He admits that he is grifting on the backs of Marvel. He can't sell his book on its own merits. The resentment that he is building, and him and others, chuds, have built towards Marvel and DC mainstream comics, and also representation within those comics, it's all an admission that his comic is not interesting or inspired enough to just grab people's attention as a comic book. Now, keep in mind, these are not things that I would say about him if he wasn't doing the things the way he does them. Like if he just came out with the character and Isom and it's him and it is what it is, and he's got these politics, it's like, okay, I'm not going to go out of my way to shit on the guy and like be so brutal in my analysis. But when you're so dishonest and you're so mean to people who nothing to do with you, right? Like they're not insulting you or your existence or anything. He views others' success via a resentful lens, which is ironic, as that's what his tweet's about. But as is well known, conservatives project all day long and twice on Sundays. And the saddest part is, ultimately, Eric knows he's full of shit. He built his audience of pay pigs on dismissing and mocking representation in comics, the idea that various perspectives and identities be represented in comics. And yet, he seems to know that's necessary too, as we looked at. I give him props, because clearly he has realized the importance of representation in comics, right? He created a black superhero. He wanted to see himself represented in the comic that he creates. Otherwise, he would have created Isom would be a white dude or whatever. But no, he made him a black dude because on some level, whether he realizes it or not, Eric July knows that representation is important. Look, I respect the drive to make and sell comics. I'm not against his success on political grounds. I'm against parasites of any political stripe. And then we got Andrew Farago here. He's a good dude. Who are these people he's talking about? Yeah, it's always this nebulous they, right? How did they market this? Well, he announced it. Do we need to watch the trailer? I don't think we need to watch the trailer, do we?
For years, we've had to deal with Hollywood's woke onslaught of destructive agendas in their films.
Those are people that just want to tell stories that represent their social political views.
At Epic Verse, we care about
canon and continuity,
excellent storytelling, and respect for our fans.
Respect the customer.
Things Hollywood has forgotten.
We don't want to make the same mistake as the other guys.
That changes today.
So maybe it's time for something new. Welcome to the Rippaverse.
That's why we launched Epic Verse.
This is basically one of their main marketing avenues, is bounding into comics. And along with a lot of YouTubers, and we'll look at those in a minute. But this, bounding into comics. And it's all victim narrative. Comics, this is from July. Comic book subreddit bans Eric July's Rippaverse comics for supporting comics from hate groups. What does that mean? I mean, I think it has to do with being connected to Comicsgate. Any form of bigotry or support of hate groups, such as Comicsgate, is not permitted. So this is an extension of the whole thing Comicsgate still tries to do, where they're like, oh, we're just innocent little comics fans. You know, so it's them doing it. And then it mentions here, please be respectful of pronouns. Intentionally continuing to use the incorrect pronouns after being corrected is a violation of Rule 1. While debate and differing views are encouraged, please keep all discussion on topic. So that's a rule that they have, and it's a pretty good rule, I think. Yeah, ban for Comicsgate support. They're just going in there trying to promote their shit anyway. But it doesn't matter because they still get to promote it, because when they get banned, then they can make this. And I guarantee you he's got videos where he's like, we got banned from fucking Reddit. Anti-woke comic defies cancel culture. Wait, is it defying it or is it a victim of it from being banned?
It's both, dude.
I made those videos, or that video, the Spider-Man one, and he responded. Eric did. He wanted me to come on and talk about it, you know, talk about my gripes. And I responded like, no, why don't you come onto my channel and I can ask you to prove that you've even read a comic book in a decade, because you sound like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And he didn't want to do it unless it was on his channel or whatever. Okay. He doesn't want to be exposed to accountability. I get it. I wouldn't either if I were him. But then Mark Brooks was in my replies. And so Eric was going back and forth with me a little bit. And then Mark Brooks replied. And instantly he was not paying attention to me anymore. It was all about Mark. And he's making videos about Mark and responding to Mark. Because Mark Brooks is a name. He can, you know, he can play that. He can play it up. I know you've read the entirety of Isom, Bob. I've read 35 pages or so. And after reading it, I was like, okay, look, I can see this being just a misguided attempt at writing comic books. Like, I didn't necessarily think based on the writing that Eric is an idiot, believe it or not. Like, it's just like you don't really understand what people read comics for, or the kind of what makes comics exciting, or why comics is a special medium, and you kind of wrote it like there's just nothing exciting about it, nothing compelling. And then, but I still wouldn't have been like, God, he's such an idiot for how he wrote this comic. He is a fucking idiot based on how he wrote these cards.
He's got that watered down Walmart store brand mystery box element to him with the way he writes things, and it's just like,
well, I don't even think it's mystery box. I think he doesn't understand. Like,
I don't understand it.
That I asked him, what's his character motivations. He did not seem to understand what I was talking about.
The fuck did I spend $100
Pretty much
for
all of
them?
them are like that, dude.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them have some element of like, well, here's a very specific thing, but then this other thing that's not so specific, I don't know anything about it. And it's like, well, who are you? Why are you giving information on this? Yaira, she's the one that, Bob, I don't know if you remember, she just flies into our hero Isom in the middle of the air after he got thrown into the sky by another guy in a completely separate fight. And then just apparently in this world, you throw somebody into the sky and they will collide with somebody who's flying by. Just like,
it was a very engaging comic book. I was really in.
This just the first sentence, man. Her age is eluding me, but she does appear ancient. Like, no, she doesn't.
That's just height.
No,
that's
she just looks like a woman.
Yeah, she's tall. I mean, she's kind of thick, I guess, but like, all right. And then this is what I mean by stupid, man. Like, this is just, I don't know how nobody caught this. So she does appear ancient, perhaps more so than I have.
What do you have? You have appearance, or
what?
what?
I don't. You have ancient. What do you have, man? Not all of your cognitive faculties, apparently.
He means age. He has age.
Just this. It's written like somebody who just is really trying hard to sound like they have something interesting to say when they don't.
Yeah.
It's
Wait,
pretentious.
is this like an actual thing that has been like released?
And
yes,
sold.
Yeah.
And
people paid $100 for cards, like 11 of these cards. They're big cards, and I guess maybe apparently the stock is really quality too, but it's still none of it's worth $100.
I thought maybe this was like his like personal notes that he had like shown a screenshot of.
I think this is probably his personal notes that he just verbatim copied and posted, slapped on these cards or something. And
it makes no sense. And
again, as somebody who's written stuff professionally, these feel like post-it notes that like are the ground level. This is not something that you would just say, all right, it's done, and throw it out there. Like, these are proof of concept, if anything, not like background story. Just reading this bio question mark, like every sentence that follows the one before it almost seems like it's contradictory and vague on every front. It just seems really confusing. Like, this should be, isn't this supposed to be like explaining the characters? And like, I have even more questions. And I've seen her kill a small armies of men, yet she doesn't seem quite evil. What?
Yeah,
what are you
either
talking
way, she's
about?
dangerous.
It's like both trying to make her almost an anti-hero, but also just there's maybe some misogyny coming through where you can't help but imply that this woman is dangerous, and not evil but dangerous. Like, every relationship seems short-lived and tactical. If there's anybody that is both a biologist and an archaeologist without having lived two lives, that'd be interesting to find out. Okay, Nimble here's got some context for us. 6 years, got a master's. If I got 2 PhDs, he'd spend 20 years studying. That's not. It's not quite two lifetimes.
Like somebody said in the chat, that he uses the word seam. Like,
true.
it's
like he's using
an attempt at ambiguity.
He's using theme for nuance to like.
Right. Exactly. Like, shrouded. mystery.
It reads exactly like a teenager, like a 12-year-old or something, who's sitting there going, I want this character to sound really smart and wise, so they seem blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, that's the kind of word that a wise character would say, but then at the same time he doesn't fucking know anything. Yeah, did you guys read this part yet? When her powers are activated, her hair and fingertips turn bluish.
I love that power.
She has a constant whirlwind that surrounds her, which could explain her flight. Icicles seem to grow from her pores.
That's all over
like,
your body.
Can she control which pores, or just like all over? Just
do they
thousands
seem to,
of icicles,
or do they? You know what I mean? Like
seams. Ooh, seams.
Bluish, like everything is just like non-committal. It's bluish. Icicles seem
even the color.
You know,
I mean,
that's just non-committal on everything.
How do you not know it's blue? Like it's a turquoise. Like say that or some shit. You know?
Well, I was really far away, so I you know.
Yeah. So speaking to the seams thing, and then just other terms that he uses, it's constantly undermining its own authority on this, right? Like it seems. I'm not sure. She doesn't quite seem. I've seen her kill armies of men, but she seems she doesn't have any known allegiances. Certainly isn't a hero. Like, what do you? I actually do feel like I understand this character less now.
This is atrocious writing.
He doesn't know what any of his characters are.
Yeah.
Like real name unknown. She's gone as several names. Oh, well, what are they?
So
okay. What does that mean?
Update. It is blue. I figured it out. It's blue. It's 3355662 on Photoshop. That
it's like
color
the greenish kind of threw me off at first, but no, it's definitely there are 5 million pores on the human body. 20,000 of those on the face.
Yeah.
Icicles. Like, can you imagine icicles flying off of those? Whatever.
Just basically frost.
Power to the people. Bluish, man. Are you paying attention? Come on. All right. Here's the thing.
It's clobbering time.
Unwoke, non-woke. People will say it's anti-woke. That's political. No, it's non-woke. He says that is a position of politics, and we've got a guy, as we looked at, who, in his own words, he's been doing this for political purposes since he started making a name for himself. His music, his YouTube channel. It's all from the perspective of grow politically, socially, and then he co-founded Being Libertarian. Apparently, started his own act, Backwards, which is political music, political commentator, appearing on Fox and Friends to discuss minimum wage. There, and then he added comic book commentary, grew his YouTube channel some more, continued building a following of like-minded libertarians. 1 year later, his social media reached the millions. I had a platform to make a difference in the world. We don't stop. Today, we're an incredible community of freedom-minded people who live to share their stories, spread liberty, and make an impact on society. And you're going to tell me this fucking guy suddenly, when it came to making a comic book, decided, no, this is where I draw the line here. I'm too noble to continue my political and cultural pursuits with this comic. It's too pure of a medium. How dare you suggest such a thing, sir? No. Even if you don't have anything, even if you can't construe stuff in the comic itself as political, which you can, but let's pretend you can't. Let's pretend you read it and it's just like, wow, there's literally nothing tangential to politics or whatever. The act of doing it in defiance of the woke, weirdo, mainstream, whatever words he uses, is political. And it's fucking disingenuous. Honestly, I would probably kind of just chill out on more if he just fucking admitted that. I mean, I would not like that he goes after literal individual creators and lies about them and stuff like that and contributes to toxicity in fandom. But it would be marginally better if he just is like, all right, look, my motivations are political. I did leave it up on my website. You know, like you would think that he would like take that. Oh, I don't want him to realize that I'm political. But none of his followers care. They know it is. They know it is, and they're cool with it. They want it. So that I make a false promise whenever I promise his sales are going to dip for subsequent issues because a lot of people are not buying a comic book. They're paying him to own the woke mainstream comics industry or whatever it is. Once they've done that one time, a great many of those people will not pay for another thing from him. They will feel like they've already done the thing, sent the message to the woke media or whatever. They won't continue doing that. I'm promising you. I'm promising you. No, of course not. I was right. I've always been right about this guy. From day one, I've always been right about anti-fandom. This is what I do. Actual fandom is not going to stop. Motherfucker.
Actual Fandom loves to make memes. He is an expert, highly skilled. Check these out.